welcome in baseball fans. Let's talk some baseball. It's Talkin Ball, presented by the law office of David J. Lopez. I'm Erin Hogan from 102.7 ESPN in Austin. He is Ty Harrington. Hear him on radio, on ESPN Plus, on SEC Network, and everywhere. 20-plus years the manager at Texas State. 5 years managing before that, won a JUCO World Series and a player at Texas. How we doing, Ty?
Great. I mean, I look at the day after Tuesday night college baseball. I mean, there was a lot I know we're about to get into it, but there was a lot of baseball played. I mean, and oftentimes after games like that, when I get home, I look forward as much as reading scores and looking at outcomes and where things are headed. And so last night was an unusual night in the SEC for the number of losses that they had, but a great night if you were in Slam Marcus last night.
Yeah, you were a part of that broadcast on ESPN Plus at Texas State, which we'll get to Texas and Texas A&M. The Longhorns were run-ruling Incarnate Word on a Tuesday night, 16-4, their 8th run rule win of their 27 so far. That ain't bad. They're ranked number 2 nationally. Meanwhile, down 30 miles south in Slam Marcus, as you called it, San Marcos, Steve Trout's ball club improved to 22-10. So this is not a fluke win. They went out and beat Texas A&M, number 18 in the country, 9-8. Game went back and forth, and I know you're a lover of college baseball, as we all are, but you live it. That was a fun baseball game. I was there until about the 7th inning, then I had to go to bed and listen to you guys close it out.
Yeah.
Great call at the end there. But, man, big night, I know, for the Texas State Bobcat fans. Aggies will be okay. They'll host the Longhorns this weekend. But that's a big win. RPI, just for the state of the program. 22-10. I was looking at Texas State coach, and they had a 5-game losing streak in there.
Yeah,
so that
did.
Tells you a lot. They're around that 5-game skid for a week or so. They're playing good baseball.
They had that 5-game skid and lost their best pitcher in that moment as well. I think a lot of other coaches and a lot of other organizations would have slipped down and fell even more than those 5 losses. Now, those 5 losses were bookended with an A&M loss on the road and a Texas loss on the road. At home. But still, I thought Coach Trout and his staff did a tremendous job, his leadership of his players, of bouncing back up. And they have just taken off. If you're trying to get through that lineup right now 3 times, it's a challenge because they've got so much power. I had a hard time spitting this out last night in the opening of the show for the game. Was they had hit 41 home runs in 11 games. Let me say that one more time. 41 home runs in 11 games. And then after 12 last night, it's 43 home runs in the last 12 games. And if you think about what that represents and you start doing the math of the home runs and what that looks like, that's unheard of. 41 is what a lot of people are going to hit in a year, and not much less than 12 games. And so they are incredibly offensive. They've gotten Ethan Ferris back, who was a first baseman who was out at the beginning of the year.
Big dude.
Yes, and he is playing at a high level and has the ability, flexibility in his stance and in his approach to get down after balls right at the kneecaps. A lot of guys that are 6'5", 6'6" have a hard time getting to the bottom half of the strike zone or the lower part of the strike zone, and he's able to. And he's been a tremendous addition defensively as well for them. But they bounced back after that 5-game skid in the moment where you lose your best pitcher, and I thought it's been a tremendous bounce back by them.
Yeah, they're 8-4 in the Sun Belt, and they're 8-4 with that sweep at Louisiana Monroe. So they're 8-1 outside of that tough weekend at Monroe after they lost the best pitcher. But that can be a dauber down. But they're getting their dauber up. They beat the Aggies in that victory. So it kind of sets up this week and weekend in the SEC. But what'd you take from the Aggies last night that we can dive into? Texas got a run rule win coming off the series win at South Carolina. Aggies, talking about offense, they can flat hit the baseball. Now, they had 8 runs, and they can – when we get into the deep dive here coming up on Talkin Ball of this series this weekend in College Station, it's going to be the Texas starting pitching and pitching depth against that a really good A&M lineup, especially the 1 through 5 hitters.
Yeah, so I think they're really offensive. They're much more physical than even what I remember. I did 2 of their games back in February, but we were in Globe Life where you sit way up top and you really don't get a glance at just how physical they are. And with the change, I think that Wilson was in the lineup last night, and he's a big physical, player. And Keel wasn't in the lineup last night, who's played right field for him quite a bit. But it is a very physical offensive team. I thought they played great defense with the exception of Grohavec, unfortunately for them, dropping the foul ball that bounced out of his glove. which led to a couple of Texas State's runs. And so earlier in the game, but they play defense at a high level. They are offensive. Their starting pitching the weekend is good. I think the part that they're having to piece together, and you and I talk about this often enough, the bullpens either win or lose the games nowadays. I mean, the starters, if you get 5 innings out of a starter, it's tremendous. You move on to the next, the bullpen guys. And ultimately last night, Texas State was able, because they were chasing A&M, and then all of a sudden, Cunningham comes out of the game. Cunningham, to me, was the best guy in the game last night for the Aggies. Right-handed pitcher came in he was really good last night.
Had 3 innings, I think.
Yeah, and he was good. I mean, his fastball is really explosive, and he kept landing his breaker early in the counts. But Texas State came roaring back and then came up with the big hits, and they went to left-handed Darden, and he was a starter for 3 years for Clemson as well. Kid's got a great arm. Guy's got a great arm and good stuff. And I think Texas State's lineup is that good. I do. I think it's that hard for pitchers to navigate through it.
Yeah, they can really hit up and down that order, and a lot of pop. You mentioned Ethan Ferris. He came back for that Texas game last Tuesday.
Yep.
They put 8 runs on the board but lost 10-8 to the Longhorns, and then they turned around and beat the Aggies. So, again, it's going to set up this series. But you mentioned, and you talk about it a lot here on Talkin Ball, bullpens win and lose games, and outside of one game for Texas, the Longhorns are sitting at 27-5. They're 9-3 in the SEC, and of those 5 losses, 3 of them you could put right on the bullpen. But it felt like the last couple of weeks, and you predicted this would happen. Max Weiner and Jim Schlossnagle are identifying roles in their bullpen, figuring out which arms they can trust. And before we get into the specific names and where you think Texas is as a manager, as you were for so long, how much leash do you give a guy? I mean, you got to give guys chances to go and succeed, and then at what point do you say, all right, we're going to settle into a couple? Or are you still in that process here?
The leash is as long as is as good as your stuff is.
There you go.
Right, your leash isn't very long if your stuff is average. Let me just say that. I'm sorry, that's the way this world works. People, he could be the guy who gets up at 5 o'clock every morning, is there till 10 o'clock at night. All that's going to do is make him tired if his stuff is average. So the reality is that if your stuff is good, your leash is longer, and because the potential's there, right? If you go back and you look, let's take Thomas Burns for example. Who's got an elite arm and elite stuff, has had his roller coaster. I mean, everybody has seen that. And then they put him in a situation last weekend where he was good.
Real good. Leverage situation.
Real good. And so that's that length of the leash. And they're identifying who those pieces are. The part that is so good for Texas is that much like last year, they moved Dylan Volantis to the back end, right? Well, they've taken Cozart now and moved him to the back end. He's a strike thrower. He's an elite strike thrower. He's got great stuff. His slider breaker, 2 different breakers in his fastball are good. You saw him in the game. I think he threw the ball through the last hitter last weekend. So they are identifying those pieces. To continue on, you need a few more. You need 1 or 2 more of these guys to step in. Max Grubbs will I think Grubbs, as the year goes on, I think he gets better.
He threw a lot Tuesday night.
He's just been there, and I think his heart rate's going to come into play, but for the right reasons. And so there's some other guys, but they're identifying it. But they need 1 more piece, you would think, that just in case somebody gets nicked up or somebody has to overextend the game, and you need that 1 guy to plug in on Sunday possibly or Tuesday.
Texas we'll talk about. And yeah, right now it feels like Sam Cozart has rolled in, and much like we saw Dylan Volantis last year, he does have that low heart rate, that ice water when it matters. Maybe Thomas Burns, that's a little bit of a boogeyman for him, right? So but getting him back into an 8th inning situation maybe helps him and finds roles. I mean, we see that at the big league level. I mean,
100%.
So if you're a Houston Astros fan, you saw Brian Abreu is great in the 8th inning. You put him in the 9th inning, he makes the cats nervous. I mean, Ryan Presley was a guy when the Astros were making their runs, was great in the 9th inning. It didn't matter if it was a World Series or not. You put him back in the 8th inning, he struggled for whatever reason. These are ball players and they're pitchers, coach, and you got to go with what's there. So Burns, the other guy that I think really is helping Texas, like if I were ranking most consistent arms out of the bullpen right now, it's Sam Cozart, who's got 6 wins now and 2 saves. I mean, guy's got great numbers for a freshman. And then Brett Crosland, the other big, tall, right-handed flamethrower.
Yeah.
And then from the left side, it's Hayden LeFew, right? I mean, a guy that you really can trust. You got two lefties and or lefty and two righties. And then, as you said, as Burns works, gets his leash, he's got the stuff. So you give him the leash. Burns can be a guy, and I think, you said Max Grubbs. Max Grubbs can be a guy that kind of slots in there. That gives you pretty good arms. They'd like to get the other lefty, Cal Higgins, kind of figured out a little bit, but at the same time, that's where they are. The starting pitching is what the starting pitching is right now. Yeah,
and going to some of the Crossland and LeFew, they both, if you watch, they have tremendous depth breakers. Like they're hard to barrel up. When you're sitting in there looking, trying to figure out how to get to the middle of the baseball, and both those guys breakers, they do such a great job of attacking their breakers. They both have good enough, really good fastballs, not good enough, really good fastballs to coincide with it. And I think that don't ever people lose sight of this every once in a while. There's 27 outs in this game. The toughest ones to get are 25, 26, 27, right? That's the ninth inning. I don't care what anybody says. That is a game within the game itself. But every out is important. So your role as a pitcher, whether it's in the sixth inning, you can lose the game in the sixth inning just as you can lose the game in the ninth inning. It's just explored more and it's experienced more when it's the last 3 outs.
Yeah, it's magnified on everybody's watching.
100%. So if you've got guys that are going out, so if Thomas Burns goes out there, I'm just using him as an example, and he goes out and goes to sixth and seventh or seventh and eighth, those are just as important. Those are, that's what it is. But they're starting to define those roles. And then there will be, historically, there always seems to be one more guy who comes out of the pack and all of a sudden gains some confidence. They give him a little more leash, or they're forced into it. Sometimes just moments, a game forces you to go to the bullpen to a guy you haven't gone to in 2 weeks, and all of a sudden he goes out there and the moment just presents itself, and he steps into it, not away from it.
Yeah, and that'll be the opportunity because Texas did have that series at South Carolina. Where can you explain? As you talk about baseball, it's young people, it's the game. But Texas last Thursday night going out to South Carolina and Ruger Riojas getting beat around a little bit. First time he's been the best pitcher. That's where baseball fans are texting us on our radio show and calling. How does the weakest hitting lineup in the conference rough up the best pitcher in all of the SEC? They take game one, and it was kind of a lethargic performance by Texas. But at the same time, you got to give South Carolina a lot of credit. They get that win, but again, Texas bounced back-to-back wins. How about this little stat, Coach? Texas is now on first games of series in the conference. They're 1-3.
I know.
And in the rest of there's Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, they're 8-0. Yeah. That's a bounce back. That's resilience. But what did you think happened last Thursday, or is that just?
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch it, first and foremost. So for me to be completely critiquing it, I can't. Other than I had heard and watched pieces of it. He couldn't land his breaker consistently, which is what he does. Both the breakers, his cutter and his bigger breaker, and he couldn't land them for strikes. And so he was chasing counts, and he was probably chasing more of the plate than what he historically does.
The hitters know that too, and they start sitting on the heat, right?
Yeah, and they start sitting on certain pieces of the plate. Ruger does a really good job of taking the middle part of the plate and shoving it this way away from right-handed hitters and exploring it and making them have to go out off the plate because his stuff, he rips it, and gets after it so good. So I think that probably was part of it. And the other piece of it is college baseball. Look, I mean, it just happens. And so, but remind yourselves just for a second, too. Okay, South Carolina is not where they have been, right? That's agreeable. They were in last place in the league. Okay, do you realize that university has won 2 national titles? Okay, so they're not like some other team that's just hanging out. Their stadium seats 10,000 people. This is not some throw by the middle program. Yes, you go in there thinking you're going to win, maybe sweep, but go out there and win 2 out of 3. Yeah, but you got to play we talk about this all the time. You have to play your very best every time you go play an SEC conference game. It's just the way the league is. They don't mess around in this league, and just because somebody's record is what it is go all the way back to Ole Miss winning the national title. They were at the bottom. They were at the bottom of the SEC.
Last team in.
And remember the interview with Mike Bianco? Mike said we couldn't win in conference. Yeah. We'd get beat by 1, 3-2 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then we finally, got going at the end. He said, but that's how thin a margin that this league can be. We talk about that all the time, and I'm beating that up. But the reality was South Carolina had made a coaching change, so there was an emotional change as well. There was a rejuvenation of, hey, well, if we do this, we're going to play better. And then Ruger didn't have his best stuff. It happens. And the way it sets up in the SEC, if you don't have your very best stuff, you have a chance of getting beat. And they did.
Yeah, and new coach comes in, new voice, changes some things up, try something different, and that kind of affected. And, again, Ruger's been lights out. Best pitcher in the conference since the conference began, or really since the season began. He's due kind of a bad day.
You know what I would go do if I was the head coach? I'd be like, I can't wait to get to Friday, get that guy back out on the mound.
Jump back out there.
He's that guy.
He's been stewing on
we
it.
don't know what the outcome's going to be because it is college athletics, and this weekend's going to be so emotional for so many different people with the Aggies in Texas, and which we can talk about as this goes on.
We will.
Yeah, but I would be ready to put Ruger Riojas out there before the game even started. I'd have him out there.
He's going to run to the mound.
Yeah.
Ruger is.
He'll be ready.
But yes, then Texas did bounce back and got some great bullpen performances. And Shaw said something interesting that none of the starters. Ruger got knocked around, only went 3 innings. Luke Harris, and I would also say if you were watching this on ESPN Plus this weekend, the umpires had small zones, and so forcing guys to throw a lot of pitches. College baseball
now.
But Luke Harrison went 4 perfect innings, but then they got him out because the pitch count was getting up. Dylan Volantis 4 perfect innings, then they got to him a little bit in the 5th, but they only gave up the 1 run that game. But Coach said something I want your perspective on, Coach Schloss, that probably this time of year good to not get those guys right in the middle of the season.
100%.
To get a little breather, let our bullpen come alive behind us, and let's go win some games. That may help those guys, coming up into the series with A&M and then Alabama.
Yes. So everybody understands this. Historically, I was guilty as a coach too. You if it was working for you, stay with it, right? The old Coach Roll say, don't change it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you get caught as a coach every once in a while. Well, let's just leave him out there one more inning. Let him get 3 more outs, and we won't have to go to the pen, or we won't have to do all these things, right? And you look up, and you get to May, and you start to see some of your starters' stuff not quite the same. And it's the number of pitches thrown. It's the number of outings. It's the number of bullpens. It's the number of everything that you do, regardless of how great a shape you're in. It can start to take a toll on your stuff when you get down to May. I think if they couldn't be in a better position than where they're at right now with the number of pitches that they've thrown, the number of appearances, out of routine, which they've only been out of routine 1 time this year, meaning they had a compressed week. A week or 2 weeks ago. So I think that to your point, what Coach Schlossnagle was trying to say is, hey, I think we're pretty good shape.
Got to ease back a little bit, right, and not lose a lot with those guys. And if you're looking forward to Texas, we'll get to the A&M series in depth here coming up. What a matchup it's going to be. Jim Schlossnagle's return to College Station. That will be acrimonious, I would guess. But Texas's next 4 series, you've got Texas A&M, back home for Alabama, who's currently ranked 8th in the country. Then they go to Vanderbilt, that's at Nashville. They're 6-6 in the conference and 19-14, but you just said it. That's in Nashville, north of downtown. And then they're going to host Mississippi State. So, and Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, that is the storyline of the past weekend. What do we make of Wes Johnson and the Georgia Bulldogs going into Starkville, not winning one game, not winning the series, sweeping the series? They're number 4 nationally now, right behind Texas. They are 10-2. They lead the conference by a full game over the Longhorns, who are in second place solo at 9-3. But man, and give us Wes Johnson. He was a pitching guy at LSU, but in Athens he's got pitching because they hit the portal pretty hard. Brought in a kid from USC, 2 kids from Stanford, and they can hit. I mean, they can really hit the baseball. And you gave the home run totals for the Aggies, which we'll talk about coming up. Georgia right now is tearing the cover off the ball, Coach. They lead the nation right now at 322 with a team batting average. Yeah. They've scored 310 runs this year. They've got 93 home runs through 33 games.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. Those are gaudy numbers. We were talking about Texas State's home run numbers. Those are gaudy numbers offensively. Now, their ballpark is a smaller park.
Yep.
That is real, and that does add into those totals. If it's at Dish Falk, it's probably not those numbers. But, I mean, look, they went – the more impressive thing than those numbers is they went to Mississippi State and they won 3 games on the road. And winning at Mississippi State is not an easy chore, right? And Mississippi State, on top of that, is a very, very good baseball team. I thought, truthfully, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, I thought they were probably in the top 5 in the country of teams, Mississippi State, that is. I thought Georgia was just on the edge of that. But what they did when they went into Starkville and what they were able to pull off, I mean, it's hard-pressed not to keep them more. I mean, you know, I would UCLA, Texas, and Georgia, and those 3 teams are all very similar in a sense of their talent levels. UCLA is probably a more veteran experienced team than those other 2 teams. And Wes Johnson, who I've known Wes since when he was at Central Arkansas, he was always a pitching guru, still is a pitching guru. He's really good at it. He's very demanding as a coach. He's very demanding of himself first, but they do a tremendous job. They did crush the portal, and they got busy in the portal, did well. Last year they had pretty good arms. You remember when they came here, they couldn't get Texas out. They couldn't throw enough strikes, and they gave up some homers. But what they've done what they've been able to do on the mound has been good enough. But what they've done in offensively, those are video game numbers. And
as a coach, you know what you just said, going into Starkville and sweeping the series. That's kind of an announcement to everybody. Okay, they're a good story, but now they're talking big. I mean, that just gives you the mettle of your team to go on the road into a place like that, top 5 matchup. It's all on the SEC network. Everybody's watching, and to send that message. And by the way, either Texas or Georgia or somebody has to beat UCLA, because we can't have the Big Ten with football, both basketball and baseball. We can't. I know it's odd for you folks that UCLA is in the Big Ten now, but somebody's got to derail that Big Ten. I've not
heard that. I haven't thought it, but I haven't heard that.
They got football. They got men's and women's basketball now with Michigan and UCLA taking down Texas. That one of you all got to go beat UCLA. We can't let that team. Big Ten can't. I have too many Big Ten fans in my life. They'll never shut up.
Too many things between here and there. That's for sure. There's a long ways between here and Omaha in that final game.
I don't care. I hope it's Texas, or I hope it's A&M, or I hope it's somebody we cover here on Talkin Ball. Just not a Big Ten team, and it's not going to be one of those Midwest teams this year. But it's good. That USC UCLA group, man, they're pretty good.
They are good.
They're pretty good. And just for a note on Georgia, love your thoughts on Wes Johnson, but their catcher Daniel Jackson is All-American. He's got an OPS of 1.344 and batting .406. They got a kid, Trey Phelps, Georgia does, 412, 13 homers, OPS of 1.331. I mean, they're just, and you said it, they play in a bandbox.
Numbers.
They play in a bandbox, but they're fun to watch, and that was impressive this weekend. Very veteran team.
You saw the catch that they made against Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
That they end the series, the guy jumped that robbed the home run and stuff like that.
The guy was doing the bat slam.
The bat something. It was a lot. I know that was an emotional.
Coach Gus would have loved that, right?
Oh, that would have never happened. But, or if he did, you never would have played again or at least for a month.
That's too much. All right, so Georgia's in first place in the conference, 10-2. Texas 9-3. It's number 4 and number 2 nationally. Alabama, the Longhorns' opponent in 2 weeks, 8-4 in the conference and 25-8. Aggies, right there. There's a 3-way tie at 7-5 because last night's loss for Texas A&M in San Marcos doesn't affect the conference record. It affects overall, obviously, and it's a huge win for Texas State on an RPI side. But the Aggies, Mississippi State, and Florida are all 7-5. Then there's a cluster at 6-6. But right now, that when I say 9-3 Texas, 7-5 A&M, that just tells you how. We know the vitriol of this series, the venom of this series, the storyline of the series between Texas and Texas A&M, the rivalry itself, but it's important games. I mean, A&M can claw right back up and put themselves right in the mix here because Texas is sitting at second place on their own, and obviously the other way goes. A&M doesn't have a good weekend; they're going to be buried in the middle to below the pack.
Yeah, one of the hardest things about this weekend for the players. The fans have no shot at what I'm about to say. Zero shot. But from the player perspective, coaching staff perspective, there's just already emotional buildup to what this weekend represents. First and foremost, it's Texas and Texas A&M, the oldest rivalry in sports in my mind, that'll ever be, and one of the most, if not the most important. But that's one. Two, you put into consideration, the fact that Jim left and A&M to come here, right? And everything that went in, the emotion that was involved with that. Michael Early was actually on the staff here. So there's so many plug and plays in this thing. But the reality is trying, from the player's perspective, they don't need to get fired up. They don't
stay calm.
So this needs to be about, in my opinion, they've got to try to make this as non-emotional as they can. It's not possible to take it all out. There's no way. But being able to still execute and being able to do things with everything going on around this series. And I know fans don't believe me when I say this probably, but don't worry about them getting fired up. Don't worry about, somebody having to give them a big speech. Don't worry about that's already been that's in their, in their back pocket right now. What has to be available to them is their ability to execute, to breathe, to think, and to see the game as if they've been seeing it already. Don't create hurdles through your emotions right now. And that's probably one of the hardest sayings about a game, because they see it also. I mean, everybody sees this on social media. Everybody knows what this game, we're talking about it. So, I mean, everybody's talking about it. And it kind of snuck up on me, truthfully. I mean, I get so buried in my everyday job, and then at night, doing these, baseball, I looked up and I was like, oh my God, they're playing Aggies next weekend. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, damn, this is going to be,
We're used to the football side where it's the end of the year. No, this is right smack in the middle. ESPN 2 is going to pick up a couple of these games on the big network, which is kind of cool.
I don't know how it's not on. I don't know how it's not on ESPN, period. Every game, every moment, everything, game day, that doesn't exist in college baseball, which I don't understand, ESPN, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, it should be, because there's not much. There won't be a better event. Masters is going on, but that's going to be over on CBS. Yeah, CBS. But this is a rivalry like very few. Talkin Ball, our weekly baseball conversation, is brought to you by the law office of David J. Lopez. David is a personal injury lawyer here in Central Texas, based in Austin, Texas. And he and his team always deliver for the community right here. David has always told me he didn't go to college, didn't go to law school, didn't spend all that money and time to chase ambulances. He wants to help. He wants to help people. He wants to help you in our community. Talk about people who have been hurt by the negligence of another in some type of accident, workplace, on the roadways, whatever it might be. You need an advocate, and David J. Lopez wants to be that. You're going to be working directly with David J. Lopez. He will be your attorney on the case. You won't be pushed off to anybody else because he's the attorney of the small firm. But you get that small firm feel, delivering big results. I know you probably see personal injury lawyers all over the billboards and everywhere. David is the one you want. He's a Longhorn alum and a lifetime Longhorn. Customer care is at his core. You get that same level of legal fight from a larger firm that you'd want, but you get the white glove personal attention from him on your case. Been doing it almost a decade now. Insurance companies are going to have lawyers. You need to know this. If insurance is involved, they're going to have their lawyers, and your interests will not be what they're looking out for. I promise you. Don't go it alone. Get that free consultation. Always a no-win, no-pay policy. If you're not compensated, neither is David. It's the law office of David J. Lopez. Personal injury advocacy at a high level. Legal help the way it should be. 512-400-0601. That's 512-400-0601, or online at davidjlopezlaw.com. That's davidjlopezlaw.com. As I'm listening to you, obviously, if you're in College Station and you're going to class and you're on campus, that's all you're hearing. Coach Schloss, go get him, go get him. And players in that locker room were, Coach played for Coach Schloss. They were around the program. Assistant coaches. Michael Early was introduced as an assistant at Texas for a day or two. Yeah. Longhorn fans will still put out the Twitter picture of Coach Michael Early at Texas wearing the burnt orange. So that's going on. But is it at some level, and we won't know till we see this thing play out, I would have to guess, Schloss is at the center of it, but for his team, I think it's a little less. Like they weren't, a lot of these guys just got here, freshman class, the portal class. They know the story, but A&M, it's a powder keg. I mean, it's all they're hearing, it's all they're seeing. I think that's a bigger challenge for Michael Early's team to get his team calm down, relaxed, play the game. Nothing that happened 2 years ago is going to impact how the games go inning by inning. Because somebody texted us on the morning show this morning on 102.7 and said, put me in, and I'm going to do this for you. Put yourself in Jim Schlossnagel's mind, like how, and not, whether that's fair or not. How's he going to approach this? He knows he's the eye of the storm here. How does he shield his ball club from that?
I think first and foremost, Slash has the ability to navigate and think and keep it unemotional as he can, because he's an avid. He is a tremendous thinker. Like, he understands. So he's played this out in his mind. I assure you. Now there's always things that happen in the game that, switches your gear, but he's already played this through his mind. Has already thought this out. It's probably come up in staff meetings. What are we going to do? How are we going to best handle this? They're going to be discussions about all of it. So, but Jim's really good at keeping his eye on the prize and not letting the noise become a dictator of his thoughts. He's really good at that. So everybody that's worried about that, the game may dictate that A&M wins somehow. That can happen because it's college baseball, but it's not going to be because of an emotional something that happened, that a decision was made. I just would be totally shocked by that. And that can mean a lot of different things, by the way. But I think they'll do a good job of preparing the guys to stay within the moment, stay within themselves, and try to block out the noise as best as possible.
As it will at Bluebell Field, real Bluebell Park, it'll get rowdy. There's a manager preparing for that when it does get volatile and acrimonious and people are yelling things. How do you convince your locker room, your dugout, just to stay out of it? Don't react to it.
Yeah, well,
and that's hard to do, because if they're yelling at your coach, I mean, they're young men. They want to defend their coach and things like that, right?
Yeah. Let me put this into context for people watching and fans that are paying attention this weekend in every game. If somebody hollers at you across the bar or the restaurant, hollers you and says you suck, whatever they want to say about
points their finger,
your reaction is emotional and is what? You're going to turn around and defend what they said, right? Well,
or say something about your wife next to you or something. Yeah,
100%. So it is a constant battle. Do baseball players can start to get where they can level with it to some level? Yes. But think about that when people say, the fans got to them. Well, I mean, there's a lot. And in baseball, it's not like football. It's not like basketball, where you're standing out there in left field and you got a group of people right on top of you, just wearing you out. Two things can happen. One, you learn how to disengage with it and you stay focused on it and you have a routine that you stay with. And number two, there are guys. I have had players in my career that it motivated. They loved it. They were like, Coach, I'm in. Just send me right back out there. I'm loving this. You ought to hear some of the shit they're saying out there. This is awesome. So there are different fractions of this, and people deal with it in different ways. To the level of what it's going to be like this weekend, it'll be interesting to see, because let's be honest, there's going to be some things said out there that probably don't need to be said. Yeah. There's going to be some things out there that are going to be emotional from, fans and on both sides. But I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. When I got asked if I wanted to go on Friday, and I was like, no, I really want to just watch this on TV. I want to just be able to watch everything that goes on and not have a whole lot going on around me. But it'll be interesting to see how everybody handles it. But I would put my faith in Jim having his team ready for
that. Yeah, you'll have to prepare them. And I'll say this, having been at Texas State when they played Texas. Texas State had some students that got up behind the Texas dugout, normally on the first base line, and they were behind a group of baseball parents, and you could tell they're all UT fans. And there was a couple of Texas State students that were going above and beyond on some of the things they were saying, because it's earshot of the Texas dugout, and saying things that they had done their research on coach's wife's name and things like that. And I thought, watching that, because if you've ever been to Texas State, there's the caboose down the line there. Yeah. I was standing there right on that deck, so I can look up and see these guys talking. And I just kept watching to see if anybody in the Texas dugout actually reacted to it, because that's what they want. Like, once you get somebody turning around yelling back at them, that's when they're like, yeah, we got it. We're in their head. Texas just handled it, never said a word. And at some point, some of the parents, I think, got to security, and then one of San Marcos's finest came down and was keeping eyes on him and pointing at him, saying, well, we're watching. Don't be saying the wrong thing. You'll be out of this game. So, point to that is Texas has been around something like it. Now it's going to be ramped up.
It'll be ramped up. It'll be amped up. It'll be twofold whatever they probably experienced far. But
it'll be fun. But they handled it right. Because I always say this, having played competitive sports, what the fans want is you to react to it. Once they get you to say something back to them, or show that it's bothering you. I know that's very, very hard. I mean, it was hard for me when my kids were playing. Then you got somebody saying something. I remember we were playing Westlake one time, and these kids are chirping, and I'm like, you're the dad, right? You're ready to come out of off the stands, but it's like, keep your head. Either way, that's secondary, but it has to be talked about because it's going to be happening in this game. Both sides have to deal with the emotion of it. Yep. It's the first trip back for Jim Schlossnagle since 2024, and they were a win away from the national championship. We know how biting that was for Aggie fans, but it's 2 years in removal, or year and a half, or 2 seasons now. Both teams are ranked in the top 20. Both teams are right in the mix in the SEC. So let's get down to the brass tacks of what the game is. Jim Schlossnagle's return to this series is a story, but the game will be decided between the lines by the players. Elite pitching against offensive firepower, I wrote down, is something Texas has elite pitching, starting pitching. We just figured out the bullpen, talk about the bullpen figuring itself out against this offensive firepower, and take both sides, A&M fans, Texas fans. How do you attack the top of this order? Because with the Aggies, that's their strength. You're looking at Chris Hakopian, the Maryland transfer, Caden Sorrell, power bat from the left side. I didn't realize till the game at Texas State this week that he's got 16 home runs. Yeah. This guy has really added power to a 407 record. Gavin Grahovic, you said physical. Bear Hamilton.
Yeah,
I mean, this is
physical.
Max Weiner will have a game plan with his pitching staff, but how do you deal with this? You can't let the top of that order just batter you around when you come around. Texas can do it too, but those guys are really, really good.
Yeah, what was interesting about last night, the second half of the game for Texas State, their success on the mound, Cade Smith came in, and his second inning of work went strictly to the fastball. I mean, they didn't even mess around with secondary pitches. What was interesting about it is I do think that A&M has the ability. I know several of their hits earlier in the game were off breakers. They do have the ability they obviously work at it to stay on breakers and hit balls the other way. But I thought it was interesting that Cade Smith went out there, and I'm sure Texas watched it too, or watching it now. He went to both sides of the plate with his fastball and didn't even show them a secondary pitch. His second time in third. I mean, he was that good in the eighth inning. It was fastball. I mean, I was just like, he's not even messing with it right now. And then, so it'd be interesting to see if that was just last night, or is that something that Texas looks at and goes, hey, first time through the lineup, we're going to go fastballs heavier. And then maybe the second time we go through the lineup, then we start off different, which Texas has been really good. And Max does a really good job sequence setting for each time a guy comes through the lineup. And if you do the same thing, eventually that guy at this level, they're gonna take advantage of it, because they're gonna sniff and smell and see and understand what's coming. And that's when you start giving up homers and you start
crooked numbers,
crooked numbers. So it'll be interesting to see. They do have to keep the top 4 guys. The most obvious statement in the world. You got to keep the top 4 guys in check best you can. Solo homers are one thing. Walks, hit batsmen, then that's another piece of it that Texas has avoided for most of this year.
And I had a stat reading, to get ready for this and our show in the mornings. I think the Aggies are among the leaders, if not the leaders in the conference and in the country in fewest walks. Like they had a rough last year with a lot of walks and a lot of self-generated big innings where, look, our offense is so good, guys. If we can limit the damage, keep the run scoring down, we can outscore people. Well, we can't outscore grand slams. We can't outscore a couple of walks, a hit batter, and then a home run. It feels like their game plan with Michael Early and their pitching coach at A&M is, okay, let them put the ball in play. We'll play with our defense, and we're going to be able to outscore them big picture if we don't create big innings ourselves.
One thing about A&M, again, Grahovic dropped. We talked about this. He dropped a fly ball last night, but I think their defense is good. I think their infield plays good. Those 2 freshmen on the left side played great last night.
Yeah, how much did you? Michael Early goes to bed every night, and he's got a freshman at left, Nico Partita, and Boston Kellner playing the left side.
On the left side of your defense, and what that means is the predominant amount of ground balls are going to be hit to that side of the field. Bunts. Everything you have to defend more on that side, and he's got 2 19-year-old kids running around over there that have been there since February and have played at a high level. I mean, you start looking at that, the future of that is unreal, but we're talking about the presence right now. But I do think A&M plays pretty good defense or good enough defense. It becomes to me becomes a strike throwing contest, and when you get guys on, everybody always claims, and it's true, it all becomes about 2-out hitting. Well, your 2-out hitting comes from the balance in your lineup, right? It's not something that as a coach you go to every day and you go to your team, go, hey, guys, we got to hit great with 2 outs. Well, they know that. The reality is the guy that came up with 2 outs with the bases loaded and a chance to tie, win, or do the game was your 8-hole hitter who's hitting $180. He ain't good enough. Unless he hits a flare over the first baseman's head, if you don't make a mistake, he's not going to get a base hit. So your 2-out hitting is based often on not just the emotion or the competitiveness, but your lineup balance and how good you are. And I think A&M's lineup from top to bottom is good. I also think Texas's lineup is really good from top to bottom as well.
Interestingly, another storyline left side of the infield on the Texas side. After the game Tuesday night when Texas run ruled on Incarnate Word, Jim Schlossnagle was asked about Adrian Rodriguez, who's on his way back. Jim did say, I need to get him out of the dugout because he's like an antsy, cat in here. He doesn't like being in the dugout. He's like pushing your kid out when it's raining outside. He just doesn't want to stay inside. Adrian wants to play, but he's not there yet. But could you see him? He said he probably swinging the bat will be his factor, but he could be a defensive replacement because you got to field the ball, playing on dirt, playing on the grass at Bluebell Park. I wonder what Adrian Rodriguez's factor is, or are you even concerned with Tamo moving back over to short? Borba, Livingston playing third. I think they feel good, but you'd love to have Adrian Rodriguez having an impact on this series at some level.
He could. Then it becomes about his reps, number of reps that he's had leading up to the game.
You ever have that guy in your dugout? You just got to get him in the game so he gets out of your hair.
No. I mean, I actually respect and love what he was saying about him because you can see it from him as a competitor on the field. He that's his spot. That's his love zone. He loves being with his spikes out there on that field. What he doesn't like, which he's not used to, is being in that dugout. He hasn't been in that dugout since he was 2. So I mean, he's just not used to that lifestyle.
Well, and you saw that with Adrian playing through that injury and just battling through it. He's like, I'm not coming out.
Off the field.
I'm not coming out.
No, he don't want to come off the field. But I think what's an interesting point is, moving from turf to dirt is always an interesting process. A&M's field is so immaculate, and they take such good care of it. And it's drug every third inning, so it is different. The difference is the very first hop on how the hitter hits it. When you swing over the top of a breaker, you create more rotation, more spin. When it goes straight down into turf, it still jumps out of there because of the force behind it and the rotation out of it and the power implied behind it. But off of dirt, it's totally different. It's harder, and then when it's hard like that, you can catch a spike mark, which creates more friction and creates misdirection in it. And so that does come into play in being able to make the decision to come forward or take a drop step becomes the biggest play for those guys that are used to playing on turf, which Texas is, and when you go to grass and dirt.
Okay, so we got left side of the infield with 2 freshmen, left side of the infield for Texas with a little shuffle there, and we'll keep an eye on Adrian Rodriguez. You got the Aggies, who last year got swept here in Austin in this series, and I do think that was the weekend that Jared Spencer got hurt for Texas, and that's when the thing started to turn for them. But, both teams have strengths. Texas is a little, fewer question marks at this point, but the Aggies are playing at home. This is going to be a heck of a series. This will be a lot of fun this weekend. And I know you've got allegiances and friends, and you are a Texas guy, so you'll be rooting for the Longhorns. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, there's only one team I'm rooting for, but I have an understanding and appreciation for for A&M and what they do and how they do it. I do. I mean, that part of it. But who am I rooting for? I mean, But I'm also a little bit different in the sense that I am such a big fan of college baseball in general and moments like these and what this represents. When I was talking about ESPN, come on, what I was talking about, a game day for college baseball.
This would be the one.
And could you imagine?
Yeah.
I'm in the streets and right outside of Bluebell would be just lined with people and guys on stage going through it just like they do in football. It'd be unreal. It'd be just, and on a Friday, midday, classes get out at 10 o'clock, whatever it is, on Fridays, that it would have been packed wall to wall, A&M people and Texas people for this game. And I look at that and I'm like, man, well, come on, Eastman, let's go, let's go do this. And because it would be one of the coolest things, and this would have been one of those weekends. But this is the depth of this game. Think about this. When Coach Schlossnagle came over here and become the head coach of University of Texas, who didn't think about, oh my gosh, when do they play A&M at A&M? So it's been on everybody's mind. Since then, that's not, that's just the way this thing goes and the way coaching goes and the way it goes when you talk about these two programs and the history of these two schools and everything.
Gotcha. No doubt about that. It's going to be high intense, and I agree with you. Where's College Game Day? Little personal news on my end. My youngest, my daughter, just got engaged, and she got engaged to an Aggie. I mean, we got which is fine.
My daughter's going there, so I know,
but it's fun because both his parents went to A&M. He's a big A&M fan. Love the kid. He's my future son-in-law. But at the same time, I'm getting into the. So they're fired up. They're heading down there on Friday. Everything you just said, they're going. He's leaving work early. It's great.
It's
great
awesome.
For the state.
It's what it is. Don't make it ugly. It is. This is one of those moments in college baseball that everybody dreams about and everybody wants to be a part and watch and see and associate with. Keep it like it is. Keep it as one of the most incredible events that people are going to get to see, and it'll be fun for everybody and it'll be meaningful. And look, I know there's always somebody that's gets grumpy about it, but man, enjoy this from a college baseball fan perspective and what this really means and what this means moving forward for college baseball.
No doubt. So that is the series in college baseball, the series in the SEC, Texas and Texas A&M for 3 games. And all the series in the SEC this weekend are Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
They'll all be Friday, Saturday.
Oh, there's no Thursday games this week?
Not that I see on the schedule.
Historically, there's that one that, they have one. But
don't see it.
Yep. All right.
Texas will be 7 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 1 o'clock at A&M.
So the Friday game's on TV if it's at 7.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
at ESPN.
That's the ESPN 2 game. No, Friday is SEC Network. Saturday is going to be ESPN 2 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. And then Sunday game at 1. Also this weekend, you've got Oklahoma at Vanderbilt. That'll be a fun series.
It will be.
South Carolina, Missouri are going to play at the bottom of the conference this weekend at Missouri. But how about Florida at Georgia? Florida-Georgia line, rivals. That'll be fun.
That's in Georgia, right?
That is at the Bandbox at Athens, no question. That's one of the top matchups this weekend. Arkansas and Alabama. Bama's numbers are said not top 10 in the country now. Arkansas is not having the season they thought.
No, but Alabama's hot. They were not playing at this level in February, and now they're playing at a much higher level.
Kentucky and Auburn, LSU at Ole Miss. That's rivals, east to west, like that. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. LSU, how about their series? They rallied to beat Tennessee a couple times this past weekend. Yeah. Don't sleep on the defending champs.
They got beat last night by Bethune-Cookman.
Wow.
And then by 3, and then Auburn got run-ruled by Jacksonville State at Auburn. And I think Vandy got beat last night, too. So it was a rough night in the SEC last night, with the exception of a few. And again, if you're with us talking ball, we record on a Wednesday, so this was Tuesday night's ball games. Looking forward to the weekend. Tennessee's at Mississippi State this weekend, and then South Carolina, Missouri, as we mentioned. So some pretty good stuff, as usual. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. Now, you and I've talked about this. Now, it's one of the greatest things in the world. You can look up on your TV when you're streaming. They have the quad box, right? Yeah, I love the quad box. Let me just tell you, one game that's going to be in that quad box for everybody. And that's going to be the A&M Texas game. That is not leaving the quad box for 3 days. Yeah. I can assure you that. Because not only is every SEC team watching their team, they're going to be watching that series as well. And let's hope it's just fireworks on the field in baseball, nothing ugly off the field, as you said. Yep. And let's hope the best. And next week, we'll be recapping on Talkin Ball, brought to you and presented by David J. Lopez, who's a big David J's got cross-flicked. He went to both schools, law degree from one, undergrad from the other. David J. Lopez Law bringing it to you, but loves his college baseball. That is for sure. I would also say props to Texas State. We started talking about Texas State with the win over the Aggies on a Tuesday night. Learned last night, and you got to be a part of the debut, the new Irvin Rasmussen Ballpark, which you helped build that park and get that ballpark built as the manager down there coaching at Texas State.
And then I was told by a senior administrative official there, like a $4 million gift to the university through the athletic department for the media, the stadium rights.
Yep.
That's a pretty huge deal for Texas State, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. It was so. I mean, I've even when I found out that Scott and Chris were doing that. I mean, got a chance to visit with both of them, and I was emotional to a level of, because I there's a lot of people that put a lot of effort, time, and blood, sweat, and tears into that place when we didn't have anything. And we were trying to build something that didn't exist and trying to move it to a level that it hadn't been to for a lot of different reasons, not just on the field, but, doing what we did. There were, student body presidents that were involved in us getting that. There were so many people involved in that. And then to look up last night and to see the name change and the amount of money that they're contributing and donating to the movement forward for the program was I mean, that's big. I know people don't understand that. From my perspective, I don't need you to, don't even want you to as much as it. But it was a moment of, man, here we go. We got another year.
Pac-12's around the corner.
We got another year,
yeah.
Right? We got another. And so it's fun for Texas State. And the overall scene, if you're a Texas State fan or even if you're not, it's great for Texas State. But the overall scene is it's great for college baseball.
And the state of Texas,
and the great state of Texas, brother. And let me tell you something: there is no other state that has the amount of baseball and the baseball players that are played in this state like we're fortunate enough to have here in the great state of Texas.
That's awesome. Props to Texas State and the big win. Texas and Texas A&M this weekend. Another weekend of SEC baseball. Pretty excited about it. We'll be talking about it again next week on another edition of Talkin Ball. That's going to wrap it for this time around. Thank you, Ty.
Yep, thank you.
Great stuff. Find it. Send it out to your friends. If you're a college baseball fan, share it. We're always talking ball here on Talkin Ball, brought to you by David J. Lopez. You'll find it at our 1027 ESPN YouTube page. Thank you, Luke. Thanks to everybody.